Hello, and welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. Today, you're going to have an opportunity to get to know me better. And in that chair is going to be my good friend, Jerri Newson. And she's going to give you an opportunity to know a little bit more about me while we're here, while we're doing this. And I want you to get your tissue ready because this is not a pretend conversation. This is a real discussion about the death of my husband that I spent 32 years with. This is an opportunity for you and I to connect on a very organic level and realize I am here for the real talk. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you, your friends, your family, your loved ones as we go on this journey together.
Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello, Jerri.
Hi, Tina. How
Hey.
are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thanks for having me over today.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here with us for the very first episode of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. And this is my dear friend, Jerri Newson, who has agreed to interview me to get a little bit more information to you as far as why we're here. And I want to say, I am sorry for your loss. I am sorry for the person that is no longer here in your life that has driven you here to be here with this conversation. That's a lot of hears. I'm going to work on that.
You're doing fine. So, we are here together.
Another here.
Yes, another here. Tell us a little bit about Tina.
Tina. So I was born Tina Beckham from Chicago, Illinois. I am one of 5 siblings, 4 girls and 1 boy. And part of my hood, being from Chicago, is my family. And you will meet many of them in a little bit. One of the jokes in our family is our brother is the last to be born. And we say that we're only here because they didn't have him first. Because if he would have been born first, there would have been no reason for my dad to push through all those girls. So thank you, Jesse, for being last. I was born and raised Chicago, Illinois, went in the Army for 21 years as a logistician, retired as a warrant officer in the United States Army, went on to civil service where I currently work full-time now. I was married to Mark Fornwald for 29 years, which is why we're having this conversation. I have 2 children, Catherine and Alexander Fornwald, and I love people. I love connecting with new people. I could be in a laundromat and start talking to somebody about what may seem the random situation, and people become transparent because I really, really do believe that we all want to connect with someone, but we're afraid of being transparent. We're afraid of making ourselves vulnerable. And I love when people open up and just become who they are and just share that. So you'll learn more about me as we go on this journey. I don't want to give all the tea away right away, so there's more to come. But I think that's a good introduction as far as who I am.
And I can attest that, yes, she does just walk up to people, or if they come even within any distance of her, yes, she will speak to them and she'll start asking questions.
But they like it, though.
And they like that. People
Yes.
like that. Tell us why you started the podcast.
Whew. So, grief is a terrible thing. We have so many opportunities and so many books about how to prepare to have a baby, how to prepare for a wedding, but there's not a lot out there on how to prepare for the loss of the person that we plan to spend our entire life with. And when Mark, my husband, passed of a massive heart attack while we were on a lover's weekend, March 11th, 2017, my entire world was crushed. And I did not know how I was going to survive that. And someone I know that was a widow reached out to me immediately and she said, Tina, I cannot attend that funeral. And I was like, girl, I understand. But this is the number to my therapist. And I started meeting with that therapist the day that I actually viewed my husband's body for the first time. And I reached out to so many widows and widowers, and they embraced me. They shared their story, they shared how they have been surviving this. And 5 years forward, I am having conversations with other widows or widowers that people are connecting me with. And each one of those conversations are so enriching and so helping. But I know that I cannot literally talk to everyone one on one. But my desire and God's prompting to share my story with people this way, to be able to give hope and to be able to give encouragement and to let everybody know you are not alone. And this is what grief looks like. And for the people in your hood, your family, your friends, your coworkers, to be able to ear hustle in to some of these conversations and understand that person that is a friend of theirs or they love and they want to be there and support them, but they just don't know how to do that and they don't want to ask that question. This is an opportunity in this forum to create a safe space that nothing is taboo about death, because it is a journey we all has to pass through, and it's also a journey that is going to impact each one of us. And so that is my why. And Widowhood Real Talk with Tina is this podcast. And it's also a 501c3 nonprofit to be able to share resources. When I hear about somebody whose spouse has passed, I send them a book and sometimes a workbook on how to deal with this grief, try to connect them with other people, therapists, financial planners. There are so many things that have to be unpacked. And we have some other things down the road that we're looking to do, hopefully in October, to have a conference on Zoom in how to deal with grief and preparing for the holidays. So this podcast is the beginning. There is content on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, because oftentimes a widow or widower is spending the most awkward times of the day dealing with so much loneliness and needing something to tap into at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when they don't want to bother a friend or a family member, but they're feeling alone and needing someone to know what this looks like. So that is my why we're here.
So you are not a licensed therapist?
Girl, no. Oh, no. Thank you.
Okay.
So I am not a licensed therapist. I am not a professional life coach. But what I am is a woman who has loved a man for 32 years. And in one weekend, he stopped breathing. And I can share that experience and bringing other people to this forum to share and encourage with other people. So I am sharing my story. You will hear life experiences from other people sharing in hopes of bringing you encouragement and us to do this together.
Great. Now, I just want you to spill a little bit of tea. Okay.
Okay. Drink my water.
I want you to tell us how you met Mark and how you knew he was the man that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with.
Memories are good. So Mark and I were both stationed at Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. And we lived in the barracks. And the barracks is what you would consider, when you're in the college, the dorms. On one side were the males and the other side were the females. And the guys were having a movie night, some guys I work with. So I went down to the room and was hanging out with them. And there were 2 bunk beds and people were just sitting everywhere, chairs and floors. And then I went out and came back in. And what happened? People reshuffled the deck. And I landed sitting next to Mark. And I was like, he kind of short. I want somebody tall. So I talked to him, but it wasn't like I was really feeling him or anything. And then a couple of weeks later, some friends of mine had a party in the parking lot. And he was there. And I was like, he kind of okay. See, he starts, warming up to it. And then he asked me to go to the movies. And I was like, sure. Well, I asked a whole bunch of other people to go to the movies with us, and we saw A Few Good Men. I'll never forget that. And he was like, oh, everybody. I was like, yeah, you said you want to go to the movies.
Oh, so
And
you didn't think that was a date?
oh, no, no, no.
Oh, okay.
But after the movies, he asked me to go out to eat. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll see where this is going. And we went to Pizza Hut. And, you trying to have your cute girl walk on. And I'm coming back from the bathroom and he's sitting at the booth. And he's looking at me all hard. And I'm like, oh, he feeling me. He feeling me. And then he looks down and he goes, you got some toilet paper on your shoe. And I was like, so he wasn't feeling me. He was looking at the toilet paper on my shoe. And I was thinking, so embarrassing. And this date is probably over. So I sit down. And then he commenced to pick up a knife and fork. And he's eating his pizza. And I'm thinking, I have never seen somebody eat pizza. I'm from Chicago. So, you full hands in. I was like, this date is probably over. But it wasn't over. And we continued to spend time together. Then I had orders to go to Korea. And he came to Chicago. He met my siblings and he met my dad. And my dad, like 6'1", 6'2", Chicago policeman. And he had a snarky remark, because this is like the first guy I ever brought home. And Mark had a snarky remark for him. I was like, oh, okay, I see you. Okay, this is probably something that we can do. I know. I was like, he came back at him. I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, this is probably going to be it. So I was good with that after that. And we wrote letters. And to this day, oh my gosh, I have this little basket that has yellow dollies around it and it's pastel. And we would send tapes back and forth, like little miniature recorder, because there was no cell phone. So there was only snail mail. And we would have the little recorder and we would send tapes to each other. And I remember when he passed, tearing the house apart to find those and to listen to his recordings. And we did that for 18 months while I was in Korea. And I came back about a year later and then we got married.
That's wonderful.
It is.
I love that story.
Did you hear about the toilet paper before?
No, I hadn't heard about the toilet paper, but now I know. I will always check when I'm on a date.
Right.
Okay.
Don't want no toilet paper on the bottom of your shoe.
Here's a hard question.
Okay.
Because Mark died suddenly, what were your thoughts about your life at that point?
Whew. Oh my gosh. People look at me a lot and say, oh, you're really strong. Oh, because I'd actually just been recovering from breast cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015. Then there were some signs that it looked like it was turning into uterine cancer. And then in November of 2016, I had a massive hysterectomy. And I had been the concern for everybody. I was supposed to go on a work trip and I could just feel God's prompting. I needed to spend time with Mark. And he was here in Virginia, in Portsmouth, working as an electrician. And we met in Delaware Water Gap. And you know how you kind of hang out with somebody and it's like there's no argument. It's just like the perfect weekend. That is the weekend we were having. We got lost, misdirected. We laughed that off. Never would I have thought from that Friday to that Saturday morning, he would have a massive heart attack and would not be breathing. My life was shattered. I could not see. I remember being in the hospital and the doctor telling me, your husband had a massive heart attack. And I was like, what does that mean? And he started telling me the percentages of his heart that was impacted. And I was like, okay, I guess I should tell the children. And he was like, we need to see if we can just get through the night. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I'm gonna take off from work. I'm gonna do all this. I remember walking through the hall, people talking about what they were gonna have for dinner. And I was like, I don't even know when I would think about food again. To fast forward, this doctor coming into the waiting room and telling me that my husband was no longer in this world, and having to tell my children that, and literally losing my mind in that hospital room, and my daughter coming in, and friends came because we were in Delaware in the middle of Pennsylvania and Virginia by ourselves, and my daughter asking me, what do we do? And I think for the first time in her life, I told her, I don't know. And watching the fear in her face, and me trying to figure out, how am I going to do life in his absence? I didn't know. I didn't know. Thankfully, a friend connected me with their therapist, and I started seeing her right away. I saw her every week. I reached out to widows and widowers because I needed to learn how to navigate this life that I was in, because I was still alive, even though Mark was not. And I needed to figure it out. I didn't go back to work for 3 months. I needed I needed to figure out what Tina looked like unraveled from Mark. And I couldn't rush that. And because 32 years didn't happen rushly, but I needed to take my time to understand what that looked like. And I just, little by little, start figuring out what it was like just to say Tina without saying Tina and Mark. Understanding what I was as an individual in that grief, and still mourning him and trying to identify who I was. So what life looked like for me, it looked like just sometimes moment by moment, hour by hour, and then it went into weeks and days and months. Moving from me from Pennsylvania to Virginia was huge. I waited a year before moving from Pennsylvania and selling the house that we raised the children in, because my mind was in such a fog that first year. And my therapist, and which I'm extremely grateful for, said to give myself grace and time before making major decisions. And so not moving right away and selling, doing things, gave me time just to take it in. And eventually carrying through with our decision to move to Virginia was really good. And so I'm glad I did that. And I'm still figuring out life right now.
I understand that very much. So take us back after the funeral
Hmm.
and everyone had left.
Okay.
Tell me how you felt.
So I am grateful that our brother Jesse stayed with me for 2 weeks. Some of my closest friends stayed for, I want to say, maybe about a week, at least a 3 to 5 days. They stayed there, and nobody wanted to leave me, because after a funeral, everybody feels like they go back to their life and they're leaving that person in that situation. And it was really hard, but having my brother there made it seem like it made it not seem like, but I was not alone. And after my brother left, one of my first cousins came, and she was on deck, Kathy, for another 2 weeks. So it wasn't like right after the funeral I was alone. I had friends there, people were coming through. Now, when Kathy left to go home, it had now been 4 weeks. So Mark passed in March. Now we're in April. Now the reality of his absence was huge. Before, in a weird sort of kind of way, it was like we were planning a party for him, but he wasn't there. People talking about him, everyone wanting to celebrate his life. And now he's gone. Catherine's back to work, and I didn't return to work. It was hard. It was really, really hard. Um, Talking to my siblings, somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere on the East Coast, just trying to figure that out. A lot of journaling, a lot of time with a therapist, excuse me, a lot of time working out, because grief has to come out some way or another. And I was trying to find healthy ways for grief to happen. So a lot of long walks, a lot of time at the gym grinding. I moved the elliptical machine into the front room, trying to figure out, because I'm up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, my mind is racing. I rearranged the house, because went from this 2,600 square foot house bustling with 4 people to Now both my children are in the military. My husband is deceased. And I'm walking through this empty house going, what in the world? And I started making this house that was from everybody, my home independently, and developing myself and figuring out what I wanted. I remember opening the refrigerator and going, all this food, everybody else like, I don't even want any of this. And it always happens at some random time. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking all of the food out of the refrigerator, putting it in the trash and going, tomorrow I'm going to the grocery store to find out what I like. And life has been like that, finding out who Tina is outside of everybody else. And it has been a journey. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the first time going into Sam's Club without Mark and thinking he would go do all the shopping and I just wanted the free food on Saturday. And giving myself grace to feel my feelings and then keep moving.
I've never had that experience. What I can say is that I applaud you for sharing that, because people think that life goes on as normal.
Oh gosh, no.
And that you'll continue doing the same things. But hearing what you said is that now you're finding yourself. You're finding what you like.
Yep.
You're rearranging the home. You're doing things that would help you through the process.
Yes, absolutely.
So, one question.
Okay.
How did you navigate being single other than just changing furniture and buying food that was your choice?
So, food. I'm always thinking about my next meal. I'm just going to tell you that now. I'm surprised there's not some food sitting here, but whatever. Dinner in our household was a production. I worked on base, so I would go grocery shopping. At the commissary, they bag the food for you and then somebody puts it in the trunk. I would pull up to the house. Catherine Alexander would take the food out and put it away. Depending on who was cooking, which was generally me, Mark would get something out to thaw out, and then I was responsible for cooking. I remember going grocery shopping going, I'm not here for this, but I needed to eat. I didn't want to eat out all the time. So I started doing Purple Carrot? No.
Honey, Blue Apron.
Blue Apron.
She was the Blue Apron queen.
Blue Apron queen.
You should have done an advertisement for them.
Because I was like, I want fresh food. And so Blue Apron would deliver, still do. I need to get Blue Apron would deliver, and I could make fresh food, and the quality of that food was like restaurant. And it gave me joy in cooking. I didn't have to worry about the grocery store doing that kind of stuff. I started figuring out what to do that I could do in my space and try to remain some type of normalcy. I connected with other friends and that's one thing I'm really glad that I have maintained friendships with people. That has been a strong thing for me. Connecting with friends. I did a lot of traveling. I remember going out to California for a widow support group to connect with other widows and widowers to be able to understand how they do this. So I started leaning into everything my therapist was saying, connecting with other widow and widowers to embrace what life had given me, because I'm still alive and what that looks like. And that has still been what I'm doing here, literally has evolved to still having this conversation, because there are just too many things about the death of a loved one that it seems like sometimes people want you to hush and not share. I cannot be quiet about someone I have loved for 32 years and be concerned about somebody else feeling uncomfortable because of that. I cannot.
Well, I do want to say, and I meant to share this with you, my daughter recently had two friends. One was a former coworker and another was a close friend who lost their husbands.
Two?
Yes, two.
Wow.
And
you're just one of your daughters know this?
Just one of my daughters.
Okay.
And she says that my daughter is not 50 years old. My daughter is in her early 40s.
That is so young.
And so she is going to be connecting these people with your podcast
Okay.
because of this. And I myself have shared it with two older women who are widows. One who recently lost her husband a few months ago.
Oh, just around the holidays.
And he died suddenly.
Okay.
He said he just was tired. He was going to go upstairs to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so thankful. I gave her the link for the podcast that you for the which you did on Facebook.
Okay.
And for the holidays, and she was so thankful.
Oh, she saw that already.
Yes.
Okay.
She saw that because we were at a neighborhood Christmas party.
Okay.
And we were talking, and she was crying, and I was feeling.
Oh, you should have.
I was feeling with her.
Okay.
I was feeling what she was feeling through what I've gone through with you. And I said, let me send this to her right away. And then there was someone else that I sent it to.
You never shared that with me.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that holiday party.
Yeah. So, but you have really given us a lot today. And I look forward to what we're going to get from you later.
Thank you.
I want to end with this. Thank you for being so transparent.
She's thanking for you.
She has really been transparent. She's given you a lot of herself. And I pray that you listening and watching, that you will be able to find even a glimmer of hope through this podcast. And Tina is a wonderful person. And it's not just because we are great friends, we're like sisters, but she is that person who genuinely cares what happens to other people. I'll share this one thing that I thought was so cute that you told me one time. You says that when you're in a restaurant and the waiter or waitress comes up to you and you get their name, and then when they come back to the table again, you say, is there anything that I can pray about for you? This is the person that you will come to know. I'm so thankful we could spend this time together.
Thank you. Thank you for helping this conversation. And thank you for joining us. You have a good day. Oh my gosh. We just finished the first episode of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. I didn't think I was going to be able to pull that off, but thank you for being here with me. And this series that we're on right now is called Family. And the next person that's going to sit in that chair is actually my mom, Mrs. Addie Beckham. And you're going to have a conversation. My mom is 79 years old, but she is on fire. So be ready for the conversation. Thanks for being here with me. We are not alone. We are here together. And there is hope. There is opportunity for healing. And I want you to be encouraged that there are people here with you. We are doing this together. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.